Welcome to tutorial on how to make a verse elimination. Really, it's not a tutorial. It's just me reading and going through this documentation with you watching and seeing me attempt to make this game. Basically, you've got this empty map. It's not an empty map. I already imported and put in a map. This is an asset pack. I didn't really make this map. I just, know how to import things. But what I'm going to do right now is basically I'm just going to be going through the documentation on how to make a gun game, or according to this, verse elimination template. I don't know why they don't just call it gun game. But, so basically, this is meant to be just a stream of consciousness, me going through this and trying to explain as we go through the different aspects of making a map. It's something that I feel like is needed. Some people don't like to just read documentation. And I found with this documentation, there's just like little bits, like it doesn't quite give me the context or explain to me why I'm doing something. It's just kind of like, do this, that's how it is, there you go. It was great for me in the way that I know what I'm doing and I know the different layers of verse code and things like that. But I feel like for a beginner looking at this, it just doesn't do anything. So let's get into it. So in order to find the template, you just need to go into the Unreal Editor documentation, and I never know where anything is, so I just type in things I know the name of. So verse elimination template right here. So let's just start. I'm just going through it bit by bit. So verse elimination template, use verse and the item granter to create a changing loadout. A gun game. First elimination, players will battle with a loadout that changes with each elimination. These mechanics are achieved by linking devices like item granter device to the verse device. Blah, 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 the overview. So, in almost every time you're making, a map, I would recommend starting with looking at the island settings and understanding what type of game you need. This will be the basis for basically every option, everything you need. Unfortunately, not all of these options work, and sometimes they're overwritten by another setting or thing. But I'm not going to complain to you about the quirks. We're just going through it. So you want to start with the island settings and go through these templates. Just tell you what they are. Like what it needs to be set as. I'm going to go through and do this for you. So first off, we already see a problem with the island settings. Right now it's saying a free-for-all. So unfortunately, with the way that this, right now the island settings are glitched, where free-for-all will always end in a draw. Always. Why does it do that? I don't know. My best guess is that it's putting all the players on the same team, and so when the game ends, it just draws. I don't know. But, so instead of following documentation exactly, what instead we're going to do is we're going to do just the team index. And let's say we want 16 players, so we'll have 16 teams. I would recommend just splitting evenly, and that should put you all on the same team. I've had glitches where it hasn't. I can show you later maybe. How about I'll show you if this gets, I don't know, 1,000 likes. This gets 1,000 likes. I will show you how to ensure every time a new player is added, they will not be on the same team. So like and subscribe. Okay, so let's keep going through. It says specifically that we need to modify these specific options. So if we go through, I usually just search things. I hate going through and trying to find, but if I spell eliminated correctly, because we can't say kill, only eliminated. We need to switch this to player's items. So basically this setting is basically saying when you hover over these options, it'll usually give you a line. Sometimes it explains it well, sometimes it doesn't. This one is self-explanatory. When the player dies, what happens to the items? Do they keep it in their inventory so when they respawn, they'll have it still? They'll drop it on the ground, or it'll just be destroyed forever. So clearly with this gun game, you want to keep it. The second option is you want to allow item drop. So the reason why you're turning this off for a gun game, and this setting works that I know of, the reason why you're turning this off is that this isn't a map or a mode where you're trying to pick up items where they should be able to change. It should just be the gun they're using. When they get a kill, they get a new gun, basically. And then it's also telling me to turn off environment destruction. I'm pretty sure my... oh, okay, well, environment. Well, already we are seeing a discrepancy in this template. Let's just environment destruction. Nope, that's not a thing. There's environment damage, so we're just gonna turn that to off. So that's wrong, but it's all right because I'm here for you. Now going on to setting up the devices. So for those new, I guess this is the first time you're ever seeing a Fortnite creative system. So the old version of Fortnite Creative 1.0, has all these devices. Basically, they're blocks of code that are these little mystery boxes that do specific things. At least they're supposed to. And so right now, Verse isn't strong enough or doesn't have the access to do everything. I can't just type in a code, give player this item. What I have to do is I have to drop in one of these devices, this item granter, drop in an item granter, be like, okay, I want this item granter. I want this item granter to be specifically this thing, this block of code. I need to use this item granter to get the item granter to do the things I want. The Verse can connect to these item granters. Verse can connect to most devices and access some of the things that they can do. But if they can't, then you got to use some jankiness, which is my favorite, but also not always fun. But let's just focus on these item granters. So Verse can't just give an item to a player. Instead, you have to drop in an item granter, this device. So let's start by looking at what sort of thing this template is telling you. Item granter device. Use an item granter device to grant player weapons. After you connect the item granter to the Verse device, which they'll do later, using direct event binding, the Verse script can shuffle the weapons order and award them with each elimination. So it seems to be in this version of the gun game, it is not a leveling up gun game, or it doesn't have a specific progression. In this script, it will just be random. It'll be like, okay, it'll just randomly order these, apparently, which I mean is fine, I guess. So let's go into this, and then we're gonna take. I just search things. It just makes my life easier because I don't care. Okay. We got an item granter. Here it is. So I am always gonna recommend to rename your stuff. Everyone's got different ways to rename it. I'm gonna just call, I like to do a shorthand first, granter, and then let's do weapon 0. Let's make this a little smaller. Weapon 0. So within weapon 0, let's see what it's telling us to do. To set a device, configure the user options, pick a weapon. Item definition, pick a weapon. So I don't want to be mean to documentation people. This is fantastic that we have even access to this, that they're explaining through. It's great. I love it. However, clearly I'm already hitting upon multiple options not being clear. If I've never used this before in my life and I drop in an item granter and it's like, item definition, pick a weapon. Okay, I'm going to go over the item granter and be item def, and it's nothing. It's not here. Okay, maybe just item. Okay, we got item list. There's granting item. Equipping granted. Okay, it's pretty clear. You can get to it, but you just kind of have to you can't just fill it in. You can't just do exactly what it says. So item definition, pick weapon. So basically what this is saying is put an item into this granter. So the way you put an item in granter, you go to this item list section, you hit the plus, and then you pick a weapon between this drop down. So obviously we're going to put the greatest weapon in all of Fortnite, which is the flint knock pistol. We'll put it right there. And so now we've got the item definition. Oh, look, there's the item definition. It showed up. Interesting. Wait. So if I search item definition after I've added something to the array, will it pop up? Item, it does. See? There you go. Because this item list doesn't automatically have a thing. So the reason why, what this is saying, so this item list has 0 array elements. So arrays, I don't know how in depth I need to make this, but I'm just going to give very simple. An array is just a list of objects. It can have 0 objects, at least in this. It can have 0 things inside of it. In this case, it has 0. And in the item granter itself, you can put more weapons than just one. But the way this code and everything works is they just put one weapon. Do you want to say? No, it doesn't matter. So let's go to the actual pick an item. We're going to go back to the best weapon in the game. Obviously, the tier 1 flint knock pistol. And then the item quantity, make sure that's at 1. I mean, it defaults to 1. There are other options you can do with this if you want to give extra ammo. Actually, I'm noticing. Okay, this is a Tom Grinch pro tip. I would make the ammo infinite. So if you go into your island settings, you can make ammo infinite because I don't think you want them to run out of ammo with this. So cool. We got item granter. Okay, so now what it's asking us to put in is an endgame device. And it's saying use the default settings. So should we use the default settings? Let's find out. Endgame device. Okay. So now we got an endgame device. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do something where I have these things, and I'm going to move these both into a new folder. And the folder will be called template stuffs. And then I'm going to right-click on the folder and make it the current folder. So now whatever I drop into the scene will automatically go into that folder, making folders useful. Okay, so the endgame, it says keep it as default, but I am paranoid about these. So, well, let's just keep it default for now. But I think I'm going to later have to fix something. Looking at this winning team thing, unless, because we didn't even set the win condition for this island at all. So let's see, settings. What is the actual victory condition? No, what is it? Victory? No, because it has win and victory. Most rounds wins? No. There's no round wins. It's not saying who's winning. So maybe the default does something that I don't know. But I like to be specific. Use an endgame to end the round once condition event. Once elimination reaches certain threshold, the verse script will activate this device to end the round. Okay, we'll let that. Well, no, that's fine. Player spawn pads. I've already got those in. I'm sorry you didn't see that, but if you're wondering how to do that, you just type in player spawner and look at that player spawner. I would like to note that the names are different. Why are the device names different than the actual name of the instance? Like if I drop in a player spawner, what is it called? It's called player spawner. Why is it called whatever? It's spawn pad, player spawner, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. Okay, so now we've gotten to the verse script. So apparently we have everything that we need. So, but before I do that, let's make a couple more of these weapons. So now you get to see how much I know about Fortnite. Let's do pistol. Definitely another great, the best weapon is a hand cannon tier L5. And then we'll get another weapon. So obviously the assault rifle, which everyone calls the SCAR. Anytime I'm talking to people. And then flintlock. Let's do a bow, because that is a Fiend's Hunter crossbow. So now that we've got the end game, all the item granters, and the player spawners, now let us set up the scripts. So add the following scripts, starting by referencing add the scripts. Do it. Script add. Okay. Sorry. I'll stop being a jerk. Go to the Verse Explorer. If you don't have this up, you go to Windows and I'm lying to you. Go to Verse and then check this, and that will turn on your Verse Explorer. It'll show up. And then you right click, add new verse file. So let's do, is there something you want me to name this? No specific name. I'm just going to call it what the device is called. Elimination game device. What have I done? Okay. Elimination game device. Sure. We'll create it. Okay. And then let's pull up the verse. Oh, you're not going to be able to see that if I put it over there. Okay. Whoops. This is not the right thing. Okay. So once you've got the elimination game verse in here, you're first going to have to build the code. Oh, right. That doesn't really matter. And then you go into your folders, and this new folder will pop up called Creative Devices. And don't look at that. Then you got the elimination game device right there. It's right there. And it's telling me to just copy and paste it. I could definitely do that. That's an easy thing. But I think I still want to explain things. So you hit this button to bring up the VS Code that you should definitely already have installed at this point in your life. And then let's just delete all this and copy and paste. So now I've copied and pasted this new thing. Okay, so here is the verse code. I'm not going to go through every single thing when it comes to coding, like basic coding practices. I'm going to be honest. There are better places to find tutorials. This is more of my stream of consciousness, but hopefully it still can help you. It can still help you as you're watching me kind of think through it. So the code that it's given us to start is just the opening variables. So everything within this creative device here is within this script right here. So just to give a base explanation, there are these editables. This is how you connect a device, like these 1.0 creative devices, these mystery boxes, into your verse script. This is how you could be like, hey, endgame device, I want you to end the game. So what you would do, because it has this editable here, and actually the way I like to format my editables, I like to make them all in one line, because I like to. I don't really have a good reason. I like it all one line. It looks cleaner to me. Anyways, editable. This editable. So if I save and then I build this, when I click on this specific device, you will see these editables show up. So this endgame device is asking for an endgame device on the map. At the start, initially, it doesn't know what endgame device to connect to. You can actually have like hundreds of endgame devices and one script. So you need to actually specifically assign it. So this is something I forget all the time. There are like 9 steps between making a script and making sure it's connected to the game with the session launched. One of them is building the verse code. One of them is making sure that it's connected to the right endgame device. One is making sure the verse code is right. There's just a lot of aspects, a lot of checkboxes, a lot of little things that can mess up. So you always want to be very careful. If it's breaking, 9 times out of 10, it's your fault. Not some bug, not some setting. It's your fault that you forgot to do something. Unless it's not. And then it's just the device is breaking and doesn't actually work. And you go in the forums and you search, find that it's broken. So, I mean, that's, yeah. Anyways, connect the endgame device. And then this is asking for weapon item granters. You see how this is another array, like the item granter itself. So basically, the way that the code is, the way that we've coded this with these editables, I didn't code it, the template coded it, is with this one, it's asking for just one endgame device. Give me an endgame device. So it gives you that drop-down setting. However, when you have these weapon item granters, when you're asking for the type and you put these brackets, that's saying, hey, I have this empty box called an array, fill it with items, item granter devices. And then when you say equals, it's an empty array. So this is basically just be like, this is an empty container. This is where all the item granters go. Cool. So then the number of eliminations to win, this is basically the end game tracking stuff. I assume, I guess it says this is set later. We'll get into that later. This is just a variable that will sit and be accessed throughout the code. It says var at the beginning because it will be able to be changed. If I remove that var, it will never be changed. It will be a constant. Okay, so the next thing on the list is this agent map. So maps are similar to the arrays we talked about before. An array is a container, but it's an ordered list. Like it's like a line of things, like 0, 1. Like that's not. It's a line of things. It's ordered by number. Like you can just go through it, like 0, 1, 2. Actually, a good way to show it is this right here. We want to add the 4 item granters. 1, 2, 3. So those are the 4 item granters. And you can see with this index, if I wanted the second or the third weapon, I would say I'd give the array the number 2. Like, hey, can I get the first? Can I get the first? Can I get the first, the second, the third, the fourth? You would just give them a number. And so arrays are known for having that ordered list. When we look at this, and a map is a type of container as well, except for instead of using numbers as the like keyword, you'll use something called a key, where in this regard, it's an agent. So you'll say, hey, give me the agent. You're like, hey, here's agent. Give me what's at this location. So with an array, it's give me what's at the first location. With a map, it's give me what's at the location of the key I've given it, which is the agent. So most likely later, this will be tracking per player. And so whenever you're like, okay, I want to know how many kills this agent has, which I assume this is what this is for, because with this array, it's empty. With these brackets, it has something within it. That's how you know it's a map, and that's what's the key. The key is the agent, and then the actual value that's stored in that location on that map is this int, so an integer, a number, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. And so I assume that is tracking the progress of the actual kills. So that could be increased, decreased. But when I'm like, okay, I want player 1, we can't get their name. That's not how the verse script works. You just kind of have this ID, this floating ID number. We can't even access the number. It's just this is the agent. We give this script the agent. It'll give us a number back, which should be the amount of kills that they have. So next, we will, I guess, copy and paste more code right into the thing. See, the thing I find interesting about this script is it just is not. It's not explaining anything. Like it's not helping anyone understand this whatsoever. But you got me here to sort of explain it, hopefully. All right, so the next part of this code is the onBegin. The onBegin function. I always put at the beginning of every onBegin function sleep 0.0. Basically, what that's doing is telling the game, wait a second, take a breath, wait until the next frame to run your code. I do this because there are times where things aren't loaded in right on that first frame. Things have broken before me. This is really just purely a sanity check, to be honest. So let's start going through. So we got number of eliminations to win. So all this is saying is it's getting your weapon item granters list and counting up how many there are. That means I can add in as many as I want, and this script will automatically and dynamically know exactly how many weapons you need to win. So this will basically just set this value right here that I talked about before. And then this print, that just, prints to the screen, tells you what's happening. Randomize the order in which the weapons are granted. So basically this is taking that array, so we've got this array right here, and shuffling it up. If you don't want that to happen, literally all you need to do is just delete that. But we're going to keep that in. So now we're going to get all the players that are in the experience. So everyone's there at the beginning. It's important to note that this is not addressing if players add in late. And I'm looking at it, and it does not do this. So if you're using this script, you can't react to players being added. So you have to turn off matchmaking for this to fully work fine. Or people will be added without the weapons. They won't be included in all of this script. However, if this gets 1,000 views, this video gets 1,000 views, I will make a bonus video for this that talks about and shows you exactly how to set this script up so that you can allow for players adding in later in the game. But right now, this code does not allow for that. So to just explain through what's happening here is this line is using a function to get all the players that are playing the game right there at that moment. So it grabs them all. It grabs that ID that I talked about before, grabs all of them. So, I guess to note, there is a difference between an agent and a player, but very few differences. They can kind of be interchanged. Personally, I'm always paranoid about it, so I never like to I really never like to interchange them. I always make sure they're one or the other. But it looks like in this code they're not doing that, so I will. It's fine. They know what they're doing more than I do. So this right here gets all the players. It puts it in the container, and then with this for loop, it takes for each player. So each player within this array right here, it will assign it to this variable and then go through it for each of them. So say I got a list of four things, it'll be like, this person is the elimination game player. Let's go through this block of code, and then it'll go the next person. And then it's like, let's go through this block of code. So this is how you'd go through any list to do things individually to each thing in this array. So then it's checking if it can, well, it's not really checking. So way verse works is in order to do something that might fail, you need to put it within an if statement and then use brackets. So here, you've got an agent, you've got a player, and then you got the fort character. One like person in the game is all three of those things. I believe the classes work that way, where the agent is like over everything, and then the player, and then within the player there's the fort character. The fort character specifically generally is applied to anything that relates to the actual like physical, or I guess digital, the character. Like if it dies, if it gets shot, if it needs to be hidden, things like that will allow. Almost everything only relates to the character, the fort character. So you'll have to, what this is doing is it's converting a player to a fort character. It's getting the fort character from the player, I guess. I assume that they're not actually classed that way, like they're just connected, but whatever. So then each fort character, you're subscribing to an event. What this is when the player dies, you're telling the code to, hey, when this character dies, run this code, which is this right here, on player eliminated. It has a red underline because later I'll be copy and pasting that in from their template. But this is what it's saying is anytime any character, so since it'll go through every single player, it'll say anytime any player dies, run this code. And that's why it will break, this game will break if someone joins later, because you're not going to be subscribed to this event. If they die, nothing will happen. And they also won't even be able to get weapons because they won't work. Okay, so then you're also going to do is you're going to add that player to the map. So when you have a map, you have to, this term, initialize it. If I tried to get the location of the player in this map before this code runs, it would just return false because you never like set that landmark. You never said, hey, here is the key, here's what it is right now. Like you have to tell it first before it can tell you back what it is. So with this, you're just setting it to 1. They're on the first item granter. They have they're on the first item granter. I think that's what I assume. I don't know why it's a 1. Why wouldn't it be a 0? I don't know. Whatever. Grant the first weapon to each player. If first, so this is what this is saying is it's just getting the first item granter on the list. It's just getting the first item granter on the list. Just to simplify it, it doesn't actually have to be that. You can just go boop, and it will automatically, you don't have to like tell it what type of thing. Yeah, so basically you now with this, you're getting the first item granter on the list and you're giving that item to the player. So that's what this grant item thing is. So when you bring in items from these devices and things, each device has different functions that they can do. In order to find out, you can look at the documentation. The documentation is one way. So if I type in item granter, it'll show me the item granter device and tell me all the things that this item can do. So this is what we're talking about here. It grants item to agent. So it says this specific thing because you have to put it within that function. So you get the device and you tell it what to do, and then you tell who to give it to right here. The thing is with this item granters and everything in these devices, something I'd like to note is you can also find out more about them if you go into the Fortnite digest on the side here, hit Control F and you search for it. It will tell you effectively the same thing that's on this documentation. I just don't like to go through the documentation all the time. I prefer just looking through the script because sometimes there are little things that help me understand more. Like sometimes things don't tell me what type needs to be put within the parentheses of the function. For example, this one, set next item, I have to give it an index to set what next item to be granted. Oh, another thing that you can learn about the item granter if you go into the Fortnite creative section. So there are two different documentations for UEFN, because there's UEFN specifically, and that tells you those verse stuff. But within Fortnite Creative, you can actually see the full list of things the item granter can do within Creative 1.0, which can also be accessed here. Because say I go over to the item granter and see all these options and things, all of these options are not even in the UEFN documentation at all. Like you have to go into the Fortnite Creative to see more information on these items. I assume the hope is that you'll never have to even look at these items at the end of the day with Verse, but right now you have to. So if you want to know more about a specific device and what it does or what it should do, go into the documentation for the Fortnite Creative and search for it. That will give you more information, and it will also tell you things that you can't do, because sometimes there are things here that aren't these functions that aren't in Verse. I think most of the item granters are in Verse, but there are a lot of other devices that don't have Verse compatibility. Yeah, so let's get back to the code. Next is to set up what on player eliminated, that function. So remember indenting it, so it should be within the scope of this. So now we got on player eliminated. So because we've subscribed to these and like and subscribe to so something to note with when you subscribe to events, if you hover over the event, it tells you what it's gonna return. So like when a player dies, it will return this elimination result. Most things return agents, but this is gonna give you it's called a struct. It'll give you this package of information. So here you go, here's elimination result. So when you type in your function, when you create your own function, if you want, you need to account for that type, whatever that subscription is. It'll error. So say I remove this stuff, it'll error and not let you, and it'll tell you what it's expecting. So here it expects a value type of elimination, but instead it's getting a tuple, which tuples are just like, it's empty. So instead, let's get the elimination result. And to find out, like I don't even know what is this elimination result? I have no idea. You can search for it in You can search for it in a digest. It'll be in one of them. For this one, it's in the Fortnite. So within the elimination result, there is a eliminated character and there is an eliminating character. One thing to note with this, though, is you see eliminated character is just a fort character, right? But eliminating character, it's question mark fort character. That is called an option, which means it's an optional thing. There's a chance a player can die without a character killing it, right? Like environmental damage, let's just say environmental damage. So it's a question mark because this might be, instead of being a fort character, it could just be false, which you can check. And that's what the option allows you to be. It's false or it's the thing, the fort character or the integer or whatever. So here we're getting the result, which is we're accessing the elimination result. We're accessing the eliminate. So we do result dot and then whatever name here you have. So it's eliminated or eliminating. Here we get the eliminating character, which is this eliminating character. So right now, this variable is an option. So it still has that like question mark attribute to it where it could be false, which is why we have this if statement, which is taking get the fort character from the eliminating character question mark. So it's saying like, is there a character in here? If there is, make it the fort character. So with this fort character, now that we have it, now that we are sure in this if statement, that means we for sure know that the character that died got eliminated by someone, and this fort character is the player. So now you need to get the agent / player. Very similar. So with the fort character, you gotta do dot get agent. You have to put in an if statement because it might, I don't know when it wouldn't be, but right now it's not. We have to check it. So if the eliminate becomes, so now we have the agent that we need, and now we're gonna do a function that we'll copy in next, which is the grant next weapon. So basically on player eliminated, it's saying, okay, is there a character that actually killed this person? Yeah? Okay, well then get the agent type that it's connected to. Now give it the next weapon, which we will now look at next. And then fun fact, if you hit shift tab, you unindent stuff. More red squiggles, love it. So now this is the grant next weapon. So let's go through it and see what's kind of happening when you're granting the next weapon. So if var current item number agent map. So basically what this is saying is if the player, so it's going into that map that we talked about. Basically it's saying that we set up before. Go, hey, what is the current number? What does the agent have? What's its current number? So is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? What is it? So it gets it, and that current item number is victory condition met. So I assume later we're going to do a code that's saying, hey, assume that it's going to do a code later where it's like, hey, did they win? If that's equal to true, then just end game it. But let's pretend like that hasn't happened. And so now it's going to increase that number to 2. And then it's going to increase the number to 2. So it's like, hey, it's on the second item. And then we're going to go into the item granters, that list we already have, and get the correct item granter. So now it's at 2. We got a -1 because the arrays are 0 to 3 or like 0 to whatever, instead of being 1 to whatever. So you have to -1 when you're trying to get items. And then you grant the item like normal. And then you need to reset the agent map to its new number. You're basically updating it. You're like, hey, it was 1, now it's going to be 2 because I added 1. Yeah, so that's pretty straightforward. Then is victory condition met? Let's find out. And then that's copied. And let's make sure that's within the right indent. So literally all this is doing is it's asking, hey, is it true? Is it the right amount? Have they eliminated someone with each of the thing? If they haven't, return true, else return false. Is it true or not? I think this is coded by someone else because it uses a different format, but I'm just gonna, just to make everyone's life easier so they can see as similar to the format as before, I'm just gonna do this. Instead, we're gonna go like that. So all this is asking is, hey, is it the same? Did they win? Did they reach the amount, the correct amount? Yeah? No? Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. And then the last little bit of code is just the end game, which is we go back to the good old end game device and we tell it to activate, because that's what's happening here. If the ask, hey, did they win? If they won, all right, cool, go activate this device, which is connected up. So that should all work correctly. Let's make sure. So to make sure, let's build the code. Don't want to forget that. Look at this. Click on the device. Check the device list. Make sure everything's filled out as it's supposed to. Let's go through. Oh, it looks like I did things early. So now this should work. But we don't know that, because let's check. Let's see if this works correctly. Save selected. Launch the session. And we have the easiest weapon gun game of all time. All right, as we're waiting, enjoy this trailer for a map I just released. All right, so now we are in the map. Okay, so now we're in the map, and my tester is right there. So now let's start the game. Okay, I have the flintlock, and then my tester has the flintlock. So now I killed him, and I received a new gun. That was strange. Definitely was hitting them, but I guess not. Oh, their spawn, their spawn invincibility. Pistol. Oh, and I won the game, because it ends immediately when you win. So it worked. Overall, the gun game, at least this base template, works. Yeah, so that's basically how you build from scratch following that template a basic gun game. Again, it's important to note there are two, I think, critical aspects, or I guess one critical aspect that's missing is the on-player added. There are other templates that give you the on-player added stuff, but not specifically for this tutorial. So if you want that, get this video 200 views, or not 100, 1,000 views, or 100 subscribers, and I'll make the player added addition to this template to help you out. So like and subscribe and all that, and ask questions in the comments, or comment if you want more. But there you go.